You didn't ask me if I was ready.
You ready?
It's too late.
Okay.
You already put a start.
Hey, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven, accompanied by Queen Taylor, who is now ready. Okay. We have our smart waters in hand to really nourish the brain. And as all working fathers, mothers, as you know,
What are you getting at?
hardworking mothers and fathers, we gotta eat on the go. So I've got myself some crunchy bar, which I don't know. I don't know why you guys like this. This is a honeycomb chocolate bar.
I think they're pretty good. It's just a texture difference.
This is also a mukbang video. So you guys can see the honeycomb there.
We work around our toddler's schedule
So sometimes,
to record. So sometimes we haven't eaten in like a day and a half.
so we gotta eat and go. Look how disheveled we look.
This is the only opportunity we get to eat and record.
You gotta work while you eat. You know what I mean? So you guys, today we're gonna be taking a look at the history summarized by Ireland. For Ireland. We're gonna learn about Ireland. We have some Irish friends, some people dear to our heart. So we want to take a look at his history, you know, so we can give him shit about it. So you guys, let's hop on over and let's learn about Ireland. They seem to condense it into 12 minutes of this video. So
My kind of history.
no, let's do it.
On the surface, the history of Ireland seems like the tale of one island getting beat up for over 1,000 years straight. And, well, that's not incorrect, I'll be honest with you. But from another perspective, it's a story of a unique civilization rising from the intersection of two very different worlds, and then remarkably enduring through centuries of subjugation and hardship. When it's all too common to see entire cultures wiped from existence because of colonial oppression, Ireland is a very hard-fought counterexample. To see what makes Ireland's history so special, and to learn how Irish cultures survived to the present day, let's do some history.
Was that the Stirling Castle?
No, I'm in Scotland.
Okay. Oh no!
Of subjugation and hardship. When it's all too common to see entire cultures wiped from existence because of colonial oppression, Ireland is a very hard-fought counterexample. To see what makes Ireland's history so special, and to learn how Irish cultures survived to the present day, let's do some history.
Sorry,
This
Andy.
video is brought to you by Audible. More on that
Sorry.
later. Our story begins with the migration of the Celts from Central Europe sometime in the 5th to 3rd-ish centuries BC. Okay, look, it's an ancient migration, alright? Dates are gonna be finicky on this one. And they settled on this little island here, which they named Eire after the goddess Eru, which I maybe said right? I don't know. I'm just gonna try and say as few Irish names as possible so I don't embarrass myself. Which
Fair.
is where we get the name Ireland. And speaking of language, they spoke an early version of Irish, which is a subset of the Gaelic language family, which is a subset of the Celtic language family. Not confusing at all. Though Ireland's didn't have a written literary tradition, the culture venerated storytelling bards, as well as druids, who are priest-like figures that doubled as historians, judges, and even doctors. Another popular profession in Ireland was, surprisingly enough, king, because there was no overarching central authority, so Ireland usually had somewhere around 150 local tuatha that each had their own king. And there were no cities at this point either, so people just clustered into groups on available farmland and got to it. Though Ireland wasn't politically unified, they shared many elements of art and religion, from Celtic knots to Cuchulainn. Irish mythology is rad, and you can see some examples here, but there are also all manner of gods, heroes, and some pretty bonkers magic too.
Hold on.
Cuchulainn.
Cuchulainn? Do you know what that is?
Cuchulainn. No.
Okay.
I just
Saying
heard
like you are.
him say it.
Cuchulainn. Yeah, I'm curious. Miscellaneous myths. I'm curious what that is.
See some examples
tell me,
here,
you know.
but there are also all manner of gods, heroes, and some pretty bonkers magic too. Sadly, we don't have as much information on them as we might like because the Irish mythological cycle wasn't codified until centuries later, and parts of it have since been lost. Plus, the stories themselves sometimes conflict with one another on account of how regional these oral traditions were. Though we today only know so much about early Celtic Ireland, the picture gets clearer and the culture gets richer with Ireland's second big arrival, Christianity. Ireland actually got the good end of the deal on this one because their conversion was peaceful peaceful,
now we
and
got
it didn't
Jesus.
involve them getting invaded by Rome. Win-win, and quite the opposite, in fact, as Irish pirates often found their way to the western coast of Rome and Britain. In one instance, a captured young Roman lived in Ireland for 6 years before escaping back to Britain, and after some soul-searching, he trained in France to become a priest and set back out to Ireland in the hopes of converting the people to Christianity. Though he wasn't the first missionary to Ireland, this Saint Patrick, as you've probably guessed, was certainly the most consequential. The dates for his life and career are all over the place, and there's even a theory that Saint Patrick is actually an amalgamation of 2 different characters, but this show is history summarized, and I am super not qualified to settle very much ongoing debates in the academic historical community. But what we can say for certain is that he never drove the snakes out of Ireland, because Ireland never had snakes. That's just a very polite code word for pagans, and even that isn't fully accurate. Patrick, buddy, you're killing me here. Because Celtic culture didn't just go away. It's a classic example of syncretism, where the goal is to make 2 disparate cultures coexist rather than have one completely supplant the other. Latin was introduced, but it was spoken right alongside Irish Gaelic. Monasteries were built all around the island, but they were regionally autonomous. Jesus was the new number 1, but the old Irish mythology remained firmly in the popular conscience. Best of both worlds. And the timing of all this couldn't have been better, because while mainland Europe was splintering out into dozens of Gothic kingdoms in the wake of the Western Roman Empire's collapse, Ireland just got a jolt of new culture to play with and about 400 years of complete peace to refine it. The strongest literary tradition in Europe was made in Irish monasteries, often called scriptoria, where accounts of old Irish mythology were written alongside beautifully decorated manuscripts of the Bible. All around, Ireland was known as the Isle of Saints and Scholars, and it's because of their hard work that so much ancient Latin work survives today. Irish missionaries to Europe even laid the...
Whoa. Interesting.
The Byzantines.
This guy's talking fast.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like trying to process everything that he's saying so quickly. But then also the things that are coming up to read, I'm trying to read it as well. But reading that with the it goes pretty quick. And then listening to him also talking fast, I'm like, my brain is like, woo.
That's awesome, though. But keep them humble. All right? Keep them humble.
Because of their hard work that so much ancient Latin work survives today. Irish missionaries to Europe even laid the groundwork for Charlemagne's 9th century Renaissance in France. It's also during this golden age that we see and hear 2 core symbols of Irish culture, the Celtic cross and the harp. The cross appears in stone all over Ireland, and it's a perfect visual metaphor for how Celtic Irish culture is literally woven into Irish Christianity. Again, all this while the rest of Europe was having some serious, let's call it growing pains. Although Ireland was decentralized in both government and religion, it enjoyed over 4 centuries of peace between the numerous Tuatha and no threat of invasion. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and all shiny things must get raided by Vikings. And speaking of Vikings, Vikings! Though Ireland didn't quite get hit as bad as the English and Scots one island over, Ireland saw its fair share of coastal looting and burning. Monasteries were an easy target because of their abundance of treasures like gemstone-covered manuscripts and their non-abundance of defensive fortifications. The Vikings did, however, contribute Ireland's first cities of Dublin, Cork, Waterford, and others settled along the island's coasts. And as the Vikings got comfortable in their cities and chilled out enough to stop with the damn raiding all the time, their cities became hubs for trade and production. Ultimately, though, Ireland's much bigger problem for the next 1,000 years would come from right across the channel. And oh golly gosh, would you look at the clock, it's time to complain about England. Woo! Sorry, professionalism. So while Ireland was having a good time minding its own business and not bothering anyone else, the Anglo-Normans came over to establish the Lordship of Ireland, which sounds a lot more, complete than it actually was. England held on to the urban population centers in the east, but because of stuff like wars and plague, it was pretty patchy for the next 5 centuries. But in 1509, Henry VIII became king and decided that he wanted to be a really big deal, so it's here that things start getting rough. See, Henry converted to Protestantism after he got tired of killing his wives and wanted to just divorce them instead, but Ireland remained firmly Catholic. This displeased Henry, so he made a new push to colonize Ireland, and England made steady progress in beating up on the Irish, taking more and more of their land, and busting down their monasteries and churches. Unsurprisingly, the Irish rebelled. Several times. In the decade after the union of the English and Scottish crowns in 1603, King James confiscated Irish land in the northern region of Ulster to make way for Scottish colonists to start private plantations. And this marks the start of a couple unfortunate defining trends for the next 3 centuries. First is the treatment of Ireland as a subservient colony and the steady seizure of Irish land, and also the persecution of Catholicism through strict social laws. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Irish farmers became tenants in their own island, and this process only accelerated with the advent of anti-royalist and Civil War extraordinaire Oliver Cromwell.
Time out. If you gave me a test after this, I would fail it.
That's kind of shitty, though. I had to start paying taxes
Green is majority Catholic, Irish. Gray is middle, 50. Orange is majority Protestant, British. Okay.
Who murdered his way across Ireland during his War of the Three Kingdoms. More land was confiscated, Catholic Irish were forcibly evicted and also banned from certain jobs, and for the next 300 years, Ireland was regarded as little more than a conquered colony. Although the anti-Catholic laws were largely repealed by the turn of the 19th century, Ireland was still poorer going into the 1800s than it had arguably ever been, as its production and wealth were systematically siphoned off to Britain. Only the majority British pockets of the island in Dublin and Ulster saw much improvement, and it was these Ulster Irish who spoke for Ireland in the new United Kingdom's Parliament. If this all sounds short-sighted, exploitative, and extremely fragile, you'd be correct. But wait, it only gets worse. See, Ireland's agriculture was, well, dangerously precarious. Most of their food production was beef exports to Britain, and that didn't leave a whole lot of available farmland on Ireland for feeding the Irish, so the tenant farmers turned to potatoes, which had by far the most nutritional value for the space they took to grow. Not super great that the systematic exploitation of their land forced Catholic Irish to subsist entirely on a single food staple for generations, but at least they're not starving. So anyway, in 1846, the potato blight hit Ireland and all of the crops failed, so people started starving. Cool. The thing is, potato crops were going rotten all across America and Europe. Ireland was just the only place where potatoes were the only option. But with the crisis at hand, Parliament acted swiftly to provide rations and relief to... No, I'm just kidding. Parliamentarians in London insisted that the reports of famine were completely overblown and refused to divert resources for aid. Help did slowly arrive, but it was predicated on putting Ireland through economic reforms to modernize their infrastructure. Yeah, because that's exactly what Ireland was asking for. Not food. God, no. Laissez-faire mercantilism. Way to read the room, guys. Eventually, the blight passed and things slowly returned to normal, but not before 1 in 7 people died of starvation and 1 in 4 fled to places like America. This would be why New York and Boston have big Irish communities that materialize out of nowhere in the late 1840s. The more you know. And real quick before we move on to the 1900s, it's not a coincidence that the areas least affected by the famine were the Protestant parts. And if that wasn't bad enough, Britain was also busy shutting down the last remaining hedge schools that taught Greek and Latin to Catholic kids. Before this, Ireland's Catholicism had produced the longest continuous tradition of Greek and Latin anywhere on Earth. But God forbid kids who aren't Anglican be allowed to learn. Gross. So what to do from here? Well, if you're the population of Ireland in the early 1900s, the answer was literally anything else, and that echoed in a call for home rule and their own independent government. However, Ulster was still fiercely unionist, and it almost looked like pro-union and pro-home rule paramilitary groups were going to start fighting about it when World War I suddenly became a much more pressing issue. But on Easter of 1916, Irish insurgents occupied government buildings in Dublin, so the British Army shelled them into surrender and then executed the rebel leaders. This, you may guess, did not sit super great with the Irish public, so as soon as the World War was over, Ireland fought a guerrilla war of independence, and in 1922 it was granted home rule as their own free state under the British Crown. And in the late 30s and 40s, Ireland transitioned into a fully independent republic. Ulster, however, opted to stay in the UK and became known as Northern Ireland. The split between North and South came to a head in the latter part of the century, as Northern Irish Catholics still faced heavy discrimination, and
they chose to, is that what he said?
Yeah, well, chose, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably.
That's what I wonder.
They were
why.
Protestant and probably,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
By that point.
I mean,
30s and 40s, yeah, so.
And we're talking under British rule for hundreds of years, right? So to them, they probably weren't getting the short end of the stick for most of it.
Yeah.
Now I know not to confuse the UK with Northern Ireland.
Then with regular Ireland.
With regular Ireland. It's just Northern Ireland's in the UK.
Republic of Ireland.
Republic of Ireland's all by itself. And you guys should kick the shit out of the northern ones, but maybe next year. What's crazy is all this, I don't know why, the revelation of Northern Ireland, you know, and the Republic of Ireland getting their independence. I feel like 1922 is not that far away. For some reason, I thought this happened centuries ago.
Yeah.
And for it to be like, no,
where'd you get 19? Is that what this is? 1922?
1922 is when they gained their independence in the Republic of Ireland.
Oh.
After the First World War. And I feel as though that is fairly recent.
Yeah. It's not as long ago as I thought. Yeah, I agree.
Their peaceful protests met violent opposition, and this erupted into the Troubles, 3 decades of insurgency, terrorism, and police brutality in Northern Ireland, as IRA irregulars fought against Ulster Volunteer forces and British police to end British rule in Northern Ireland. After some 3,500 casualties, most of them civilian, the Good Friday Agreement of 1998 mandated that Northern Ireland could vote to unify with the Republic at any time they liked, and that there would never again be a hard border on the island between North and South. Oh, dear God.
God.
Criminy, even when Irish history lets up, it doesn't let up. Meanwhile, the Republic of Ireland enacted a series of economic and political reforms to lift the country out of hundreds of years of poverty. And today, the people of Ireland are safer, richer, better fed, and freer to express their religion than they've been in centuries. It's distressing to see Ireland so cruelly oppressed for so long, but it's inspiring to see the past century's reclamation of Irish culture and their long-deserved independence.
Yeah.
In Ireland, history is never far away. The legacy of their centuries-long golden age is everywhere from the Celtic cross to the Irish language, and the painful memory of the Great Famine has motivated Ireland to become a world's leader in international food aid, and I will gladly raise a pint to that. In ancient Ireland, monks had to copy entire manuscripts by hand, but now it's never been easier to get instant access to a world of literature thanks to today's sponsor, Audible. With enough audiobooks to fill a scriptoria, Audible is the number one source for all your literary listening needs. Whether you're walking around town, sitting on a bus, or just making some dinner, it's great to simply listen and learn
Let them
stuff.
cook.
For instance, if you want to know more about the Golden Age of Ireland, then I'd recommend this audiobook on how the Irish saved civilization, which tracks Irish history from the fall of Rome through its shiny medieval period. And get this, it's narrated by Liam Neeson. Doesn't get much more Irish than that. While you're listening, you can also tweak the playback speed and save notes or bookmarks with a tap. Audible members who sign up get a credit for any audiobook, completely free every month, as well as 2 free Audible originals per month and additional discounts in the store. And just in time for the holidays, Audible is offering a half-price deal for your first 3 months if you sign up with our link on audible.com/overlysarcastic or text overly sarcastic to 500-500. If you do, you'll be supporting the channel and getting a really good audiobook in the process. Again, if this sounds like something you'd like, head to audible.com/overly sarcastic and start listening today. Thank you so much for watching. It's rare that I get to do a full 2,000 years in one video, but it's fun to take a really, really big picture look from time to time. Still, there was a ton of medieval history that I had to cut for time, so if you're curious to learn more, I really encourage you to dig in. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hop on over to our official OSP Discord channel. Links in the description, and I'll see you next time.
Did we ever do an OSP video before? Did we ever do an OSP video before? I can't remember if we have. I thought the production was very good.
I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
Well, I don't know what that means.
That's the Overly Sarcastic Productions. OSP.
Oh.
Is the channel we just watched his video. Yeah, this guy.
No, I don't think so.
Anyways, that was very interesting. It was very cool. It was a lot.
My brain is obviously overloaded. Yeah.
I am too. You can wrap all that up. And there's a lot more. It's a nice like little teaser to get interested for you to go dig in deeper.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's like here, wave it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, ooh, shiny object. And then you can go down a rabbit hole on Ireland's
I think like you
history.
said, there's a lot that he probably left out for sure.
Oh, I'm sure. This is
I
like
think if you know absolutely nothing about the history of Ireland,
yeah,
like probably like we do, like very little to nothing. I think this was a bit fast to like really retain a lot of the information, at least for me, especially with trying to listen to him and read everything. Like I said, it was a lot. I think doing it in 12 minutes is great, but it also is a little difficult because you do that speed a lot. And when you're trying to like learn a bunch of stuff, it's a little intense.
Yeah.
But I think this was really interesting, and I think that it could be really something that's fun to kind of dive a little bit deeper in. But
yeah, I think that like a video like this, its target audience is supposed to be the rest of the world. Who the audience turns into is just a bunch of Irish people, right?
Yeah.
People from Ireland. So from someone who's, for the target audience is clearly me, you guys. It's just enough. I think it does its job in getting you interested enough, especially for people like, so here's where I think this video, consequently more videos to follow, is like you just did your ancestry.com thing.
yeah,
Right? And you just found out you have some Irish in your blood. You're not Irish, but you have some in your blood. and you wanted to like look it up.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's enough information to really just kind of tickle your fancy, and either you leave it there if that was enough for you, or you get a little bit more into it. But I do think it was very interesting. There's a lot that I didn't know. Like I didn't realize that it was just you said 22. I thought they said like 30s or 40s, but still to be that recent.
Yeah.
Was a little shocking.
It was very cool. You guys, thank you so much for watching this video. This has been on our spin the wheel multiple times, so we just wanted to get it the hell out of the wheel because there was some voodoo magic happening with it, and I don't know, it doesn't matter. Everything on that wheel will eventually get reacted to because it's your guys' requests. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the recommendations. Taylor just spilt a whole shit ton of water on the table, so that's why she's distracted. But don't worry, I'll press on.
I'm cleaning it up. You're doing great.
Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.